What's up, everybody? Well, I got another ASUS G15 Advantage gameplay video for you guys today, and today we're going to check out Remnant II again, but this time at 1440p. So I'm hoping it's going to be playable with some decent settings, but I have a feeling we're probably going to have to use FSR, but there's only one way to find out. Let's go grab that cabbage computer cord, hook it on up, and let's look at some settings and get into the game. So, before we hop into the game at 1440 here, we're going to go through the settings, and we're going to start off on Ultra, just like we did at 1080p. It more than likely will not work whatsoever. Well, it will work, but it'll probably drop down to like the high 30s or something like that. But, hey, let's go find out. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, now, here we go. Ultra at 1440p, and like I thought, high 30s to 40s. Now, this might be completely playable for some, but I do not accept this kind of FPS on my laptop. I might be okay with this on the Steam Deck or the Ally, sure, but not on this guy. So, I will probably end up having to use some FSR on this, because I don't want to have to play at 1440p and then drop everything in low. That defeats the whole purpose of some of the crispiness of 1440p, after all.
Yeah,
So.
like this ward.
That's one of the times where I guess FSR and DLSS kind of help out a little bit. So that's when I'm finally forced to use them, but it's whatever. Sometimes you just gotta do it, especially if the devs say the game is designed to run with this kind of FSR and DLSS kind of stuff.
Otherwise, we won't last much longer out here.
But alright, just like on the Steam Deck and the Ally, I'm not gonna go much farther than this. Not until the frames are a little better. So now, let's tone them down a little and see how it does next. Well, now, for some high, and if it's anything like it was at 1080p, high was almost no different from Ultra, so I'm gonna guess it's probably more of the same in FPS, but we just reached the bottom, so let's go hop back into the game and we'll go find out. Well, alright, here we go with high graphics settings now at 1440. And yeah, it seems to be very similar anyway to Ultra. But in its defense, we didn't drop down to 35 this time yet, so it is at least doing slightly better. So it must make more of a difference at 1440p than it did at 1080p. That's about all that tells me, because it was almost literally not a difference at all when we were doing this at 1080p.
Like this ward.
Like the frames were precisely the same, if I recall.
Fresh water, everyone gets along. That sounds like the fairy tale to me. It's probably just a couple.
But just like before, this is still not what I would consider very playable, so let's just walk up to this little coffee advertisement with this other girl, and then we'll move on to medium. And we'll just keep doing this until we can finally get some somewhat playable FPS, which will probably happen around low. Or if not then definitely when FSR hits. But let's move on. Well, now is medium time. So this did make a pretty good difference in 1080p mode, so it'll probably make a good difference here too. Probably not playable, but hey, it'd be cool. Turn off those detailed shadows too. So now, into the game. So now we are on medium graphics settings at 1440. And we definitely got a few more FPS, because I saw 50 for a second there. Yep, there it is again. But it seems like for the most part, we're still in the high 40s for the most part. Touching in the low 50s though, at times. So not what I would still consider playable, so we'll have to try again with low, so we'll just walk up to our coffee little logo then.
Yeah.
But at least that still gives you guys an idea of how it plays. If it can't handle it here, it's not going to really handle it probably at the more demanding parts of the game, which I'm sure there's plenty more demanding than this.
Probably just a couple of old timers holed up underground. I just hope they got a few supplies for trade. Otherwise, we won't last much longer out here. You think people actually live like this?
Not sure.
I don't know what's in that Fulton's original
Anyway,
blend.
though, let's go move
never
on
seen
to
a
low
lady
now.
there.
Well, now we're going to do low. So let's scroll through the settings once more. And there we are, at the bottom already. So let's go see how low does. Probably still won't hit a constant 60, but hey, let's go find out. Well, now here we go with the game on low. Definitely doesn't look very good anymore. And no, we are not staying at a constant 60. But this is still good enough FPS, I think, for us to go past the little coffee logo this time, so we will.
Yeah, like this war.
And then after this, we'll move on to some FSR, which will finally, hopefully, be constantly playable no matter what. I don't care about, you know, dropping down to like 59 or 58 or any of that crap, but just as long as we're not dropping all the way down to the low 50s.
Hope they got a few supplies for trade. Otherwise, we won't last much longer out here. You think people actually live like this?
Not sure.
I don't know what's in that Fulton's original blend, but I never see nobody.
It has all the blend. All of the blend in the universe is right in that coffee. Too bad there is no more. They could have the universe in the cup. But it wasn't meant to be. Not in this world.
Locked. Great. We can't turn back now. Ain't got no way to go. There's gotta be another way through.
You will ask and ye shall receive.
It's about time. What took you?
Alright, now let's go do what we did before on the last videos. Go eat our little treat over here. And now, let's go move on to FSR. Alright, so now, let's go ahead and do some FSR. We're going to start off with quality mode. And I figured we'd turn it down to high. Even though ultra and high were basically the same, it did actually make a slight difference here, so that's why I did it. 1080p wasn't so much, but here it was a difference, so let's go see how FSR does. Here we go with FSR on quality now, and the game on high. Can we stay at 60 or around at least? So far, yes. Almost didn't, but so far, yes.
You ever hear about the North Pole?
That old fairy tale?
Yeah, like this ward. Old white guy founds it. Food and fresh water, everyone gets along. That
Everybody wants to get along.
It's probably just a couple of old timers holed up underground. I just hope they got a few supplies for trade. Otherwise, we won't last much longer out here. You think people actually live like this?
Not sure.
I don't know what's in that Fulton's original blend, but I never seen nobody that happy before. Not in real life.
Alright, it's been a little while. I think I've earned myself another little teeny tiny little hit here. Man, it's turned into a game. How many times can this lighter still light?
Locked. Great. We can't turn back now. We got nowhere to go.
It's basically a small little blue flame at this point, but that's all I need.
It's
Only need it for a
about
split second
time.
after
What
all.
took you?
Alright, let's go eat our food. And now, let's move on to the next FSR. Well, here's the next FSR now. It's FSR Balanced. So, we're keeping everything else precisely the same. I'm not going to invalidate the test on you now. No way. So, now that we've already cleared all of the settings, let's get back in the game and we'll see how Balanced does. Let's get ourselves a little FSR Balanced now. Definitely seems to be making a little bit of a difference on the FPS, that's for sure. Doesn't really look that bad, but that's because we got a base of 1440p this time. We got a much better starting plate for FSR. I don't really like generally using it at all, but if I'm going to use it, I'd rather use it like at 1440p plus.
You ever hear about the North Pole?
That
Anything under
old fairy
1080p
tale?
generally starts looking like
Yeah,
garbage extremely
like this
quickly.
ward. Old white guy founds it.
At least as far as
Food
FSR
and
is
fresh
considered,
water,
I've never really
everyone
had
gets
anything that
along.
low resolution hooked up to any of my
That
GPUs
sounds
that
like
can
fairy
use
tale to me.
DLSS, so
Probably
I
just
can't
a
really
couple
comment on that one.
timers holed up
But I
underground.
imagine it would be
I just
similar.
hope they
Though
got a few
DLSS
supplies
does
for
seem to be
trade.
a slightly better tool
Otherwise, we
still.
won't last much longer.
Though it is cool that FSR is available on everything. Cannot deny that. That's at least neat.
You think people actually live like this?
Not sure.
I don't know what's
It would be
in that
creepy if
Fulton's
like
original
everybody
blend,
back then just lived like
but I've
that.
never seen
Everybody was
nobody
just
that had
constantly like
Not in
jacked
real
on
life.
coffee.
Locked. Great. We can't.
Oh no, I have failed you all. I must now commit seppuku. Alright, now we got over it. No big deal.
It's about time. What took you?
And alright, we've eaten our little root thing, so let's get on to the next FSR. Moving on to FSR Performance now. Everything else exactly the same, of course. And there you go, proof. So now, let's get back to the game. We'll see how performance does for FPS and how it looks. Here we go, FSR Performance now. At least it doesn't look absolutely horrid, but not great either. But it is getting us some FPS, that's for sure. Can't deny that.
You ever hear about the North Pole?
That old fairy tale?
Yeah, like this ward. Old white guy founds it. Food and fresh water, everyone gets along. That sounds like the fairy tale to me. It's probably just a couple of old timers holed up underground. I just hope they got a few supplies for trade. Otherwise, we won't last much longer out here. You think people actually live like this?
Not sure.
I
Alright,
don't know
soon we will
what's
be
in
able
that
to
Fulton's
run.
original blend, but I never seen nobody that happy before. Not in real life. Locked. Great. We can't turn back now.
Well, that's okay. We've got a solution,
Gotta be another way through.
and it's right here.
It's about time. What took you?
Alright, eat time, and now it is time to move on to the last FSR setting. Well, alright, last FSR, and it's Ultra Performance. It's still gonna look pretty damn bad, though, even though we're on a base of 1440p. It just won't look quite as bad as it did when we had a base of 1080p or 720p. But anyway, let's go find out how it plays and how it looks. Here we go. Get a little Ultra FSR Performance here. And yeah, definitely not looking great. Just not quite as bad as it did when we were on 1080p. At least it looks somewhat passable, but I wouldn't really want to play it like this. But I wouldn't mind playing on quality. Quality didn't look so bad, so that's probably what I'll end up having to use. Still probably drop under 60 here and there,
About the
but
North Pole?
That
I think I can
old
come up
fairy
with some
tale?
settings that get us a
Yeah,
pretty consistent
like this
60 plus
ward.
experience.
Old white guy founds it. Food and fresh water, everyone gets along. That sounds like the fairy tale to me. It's probably just a couple of old timers holed up underground. I just hope they got a few supplies for trade. Otherwise, we won't last much longer out here. You think people actually live like this?
Not sure.
I don't know what's in that Fulton's original blend, but I never seen nobody that happy before. Not in real life.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna hear that conversation in my dreams tonight. I've heard it so many times today on so many various things. And yesterday too, because yesterday I did the Ally and the Steam Deck.
Locked. Great.
Not to worry.
Ain't got nowhere to go. There's gotta be another way through. about time. What took you?
And now, why don't we go ahead and move on to my settings? All right, now we're gonna go along with my settings now, and I did have to use FSR. I didn't want to have to deal with low settings. So we went with quality, and then we went with a couple mediums, a couple highs, some detailed shadows. So hopefully this will stay mostly above 60. All right, guys, here we go with my settings. And like I said, it'll still drop down like 58, 59 here and there, but for the most part, it stays above 60. Especially once we get away from this area.
You ever hear about the North Pole?
That old fairy tale?
Yeah.
But I will say the
This
frame times are
board.
pretty decent.
Old white guy founds it. Food and fresh water, everyone gets along. That sounds like the fairy tale to me. It's probably just a couple of old timers holed up underground. I just hope they got a few supplies for trade. Otherwise, we won't last much longer out here.
Well, that is sure a kiddie stretch. You guys missed the biggest kiddie stretch ever.
You think people actually live like this?
Not sure.
But
I don't
yeah,
know
she's too
what's
cute
in
to
that
stay mad at.
original
I'm still a
plan.
little irritated my model's
never seen
broken,
nobody
but
do
I
that
didn't even
before.
yell at her.
Not in
Because
real
I didn't
life.
even know how much time had passed. I don't even like yelling at animals. There's no point. They don't know what you're yelling at them about. So instead, I just solved the problem. So now she can't jump up there no more either, just like on the other side. So, no more issues. And hopefully I can put it back together.
Locked.
I'm just glad it wasn't Berserk Fury. That one's my favorite.
I don't know where to go. There's gotta be another way.
So I took that one down altogether and put it on top of my bread box.
It's about time. What took you?
Alright though, why don't we go ahead and now move on to a little bit of some camera. Alright guys, let's get ourselves a little bit of some camera recorded gameplay now. Now as I said before, it does drop under 60 every once in a while, but for the most part it's well over 60. I like trying to balance both, graphics and frame rate. Because if all I wanted was frame rate, I could just put it on ultra performance, put everything on low, and have it look like, a Nintendo 64 game.
You ever hear about the North
Nah,
Pole?
it wouldn't look quite that bad,
old
but still.
fairy tale?
Would
Yeah.
look great.
Like this ward. Old white guy founds it. Food and fresh water, everyone gets along. That sounds like the fairy tale to me. It's probably just a couple of old timers holed up underground. I just hope they got a few supplies for trade. Otherwise, we won't last much longer. You think people actually live like this?
Hell yeah. All day and every
Sure.
night.
I don't know what's in that Fulton's original blend, but I never seen nobody that happy before. Not in real life. Locked. Great. I can't tell where to go. I don't know where to go. There's gotta be another way through.
There you are.
It's about time. What took you?
Everything and more. Alright, come on over here and let's get this door open.
Yeah. Hey, over here.
There we go.
This is bad with a side of broccoli.
A side of what?
No, careful. Her puns might make you drive you bananas.
Nice shooting. Hey, that don't count, by the way.
Oh, yes, it does. But in any case, why don't we go ahead and go wrap this video on up? Well, alright guys, that's a wrap for Remnant II on the ASUS G15 Advantage, and it did not do as well at 1440p, but at least we got it pretty playable with a tiny bit of help from FSR, which is sad. I don't like turning that on. You guys know that. I'm always complaining about having to turn that on, but this is one of those games where it was just necessary. Kind of makes me wonder, how is it going to do on my desktops? Well, we'll have to find out. Those are next after all. But I hope you guys enjoyed this particular video, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.